Hi guys, welcome to construction, day one. What I'm trying to do is make sure you follow me besides in the packet and go from there. You can check your wall, it should pull out day one stuff, walls and ceiling, and just read the introduction today. That's all it's being done. And you can also follow me or fill out the packet because that's what's due today is your vocabulary, walls and ceiling. Make sure you do that. And I'm just going to give a brief overview quickly in two different sections to make sure that you get this information. I'm going to download it on YouTube and try to send it via email. Bear with me. This is like a fourth or fifth trip. So let's get started. Here we go. Number one is bearing wall. Okay. Now a bearing wall is something that supports roof or loads up above. It could be the roof system, or it can be another floor, but it basically supports the load. It holds something. So in your definition, basically have a wall that supports floors and roof directly above it, addition to its own weight. That should be bearing wall. Cripple studs. A cripple stud is basically a smaller stud that isn't a full-length stud. Okay, so when you look at it, a cripple stud can be above a door, it can be below a window. It's just a smaller size. It's not a full size. So anything under a full size stud, which is 92 5/8 in our world this year, is not considered. It's called a cripple stud. All right. So the definition: any part of a framing stud that has cut less than a full size stud over a door or under a window. Just as we spoke, and to go from there. Double top plate. This is very important. Basically, it's a plate with two members. You have a top plate and a double top plate. The double top plate strengthens walls. It overlaps the splices, and it's also good for sheetrockers to make sure if you put crown molding or anything else, or you put strapping on the ceiling, it helps you out to make sure that it doesn't overlap below. So again, a double top plate is a plate of two members, allow better stiffening of the wall and tying wall splices together or corners together or partition walls, and it's at right angles of that. So make sure that you put the splice. The rule of thumb is 2 feet. I recommend if you have a 16-footer, try to overlap it as close to 8 feet as possible. The longer distance that the splices are in, or the double top plates over the top plate splices, the stronger your wall will be. Okay, the next one is a gable. Now the gable is the triangular shape of your end of your ranch house. If you have a hip roof, you will have no gables. It's only on ranch style houses, and again, it's a triangular shape that you put studs to. You have gable end studs, and going from there. So if you looked in our shop, our gable end studs are what on the triangle when you walk in through the door where the pantry is, or you walk through the door where our main hallway or staging was set. Okay, on both ends. Basically where our planks were, that's considered a gable end. They have no load bearing on them whatsoever. Okay, they only hold its own structure up, even though it's on the concrete. So you don't need any headers or anything with major supports. So again, the gable is a triangular portion of the exterior wall above the eaves of the structure. And that's how it was written. All you got to do is fill it out. Next one is a header. Header supports the loads up above. So if you have a door opening, you can't go 16 on center. You couldn't have a door that small or 2 foot. So what you do is you put a header, usually horizontal structure that supports it. So you take the 3.5 inches and turn it sideways to structurally hold it. If it's a non-load bearing wall, you can take it and just do it 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. It doesn't make any difference. What we did on our exterior walls is we used 2x10s. So they're 9.25 inches thick to make sure that we hold the loads and go from there. Again, the horizontal header is a horizontal structure that supports a load over the opening, such as a window or a door. Okay, and the rule of thumb for that is 1.5 inches for anything under 5 feet. Anything over 5 feet, I would take 2 jacks on both sides, just because of the load bearing and the supports on each side, so you have 3 inches on each side. Now again, your headers are going to be 3 inches bigger than your rough opening. Okay, and we'll talk about rough opening in a few minutes. So next is the jamb, and the jamb is the 2 pieces on the side, and I will literally show you as we walk over to our door here. And you see our metal door here, this being metal. This would be a top jamb right over here, and then the 2 side jambs. You can also, if they're rough openings, you can call them trimmer studs or jacks. That's what the jamb goes to. Most jambs are usually 3 quarters of an inch thick on the top and the bottom. That's why your rough opening has to be bigger than the actual size of the door or the window. Okay, so the rough opening is an opening in framing formed by framing members such as windows and doors. Simple as that. Okay, partition. These are also called party walls, interior partitions, or just interior walls. Same sort of thing, they're just partitions. And breaking up. It just subdivides every unit from one another, like your living room to your kitchen, your bedroom to your closet, your closet to your bathroom, whatever the case may be. It's just subdivision of anything on the inside of your house. Ours happen to be, in our house, non-load bearing walls, because ours was 26 by 52, or half was 13 by 52, and the only load bearing positions were in our marriage wall, where we use the LVLs, and on the exterior walls that we use we use some LVLs and we use some box headers, and we'll get into that later. But I just wanted to throw this vocabulary out, because when you get on a job site, you really need to know the vocabulary instead of going, you don't understand. So again, the rough opening is openings formed by framing members such as doors and windows. Next, as we're going along, it's rough sill. Now the rough sill is, if you hear the term sill, what does that mean to you? To me, it means the bottom of something. Now you hear the sill when we talked about floors when we did that. The sill on the bottom of the floor is what we did our joist header, our box or rim joist that we nailed all the way on around the outside. That sat on concrete. It's the same thing. It's the bottom of something. If you have a window sill, you hear a window sill, that's the bottom, what the window actually sits on. Okay, that's considered sill, and then there's cripple studs below them. Sometimes they put 2 sills, double sills, sometimes it's just single. It doesn't really matter. It's again all load bearing, and it depends on what company that you work for, and it can consistently change depending on what you're doing. Rough sills are also on bottom of doors. They usually get cut out. They're on your bottom plate. When you see in your packet, when you see the bottom sills out, your jacks were 81.5 usually. So the rough opening, once you cut the bottoms out, they were 83 or 6'11". So if you got 6'11", that's adding 1.5 inches or more for each particular one. So as we look at it, the rough sill is the lower part of the frame attached to the top cripple studs to the base of the rough opening for the windows. Okay, so the rough sill, as you look at it, is what the window sits on, and it goes down to the bottom, so it's connected to the bottom plate, nailed on one end, and on the top plate, it's nailed to the rough sill. Those cripple studs in between, and that supports it and carries the same load and keeps layout, everything the same. Okay, the next one is number 10. As you're following along, is the sole plate, also known as the bottom plate. Now the bottom plate is very important what we nail every one of our studs to, or cripple studs or anything else like that, or jack studs, king studs, any of those are what we nail the bottom plate. Remember, when we did our exterior walls, we snapped the line, kept it straight, nailed all our studs to them, put our windows and doors in, and then we got it flush with the outside. After we got it flush with the outside, we cross-taped it, or we could do the 3-4-5 method. After we did that, we literally just, after we got the diagonals perfect, then we nailed it down with top with spikes on the double top plate, but we left the 8s in, so when we tipped the wall, it essentially made sure that it didn't pop and then slide off our floor. And you should do that all the time. So again, the sole plate is the lowest horizontal member of the wall or partition to which studs are nailed. And it rests usually on the rough floor or your sheathing. It happened to be our 3/4 inch Advantech that we laid it on. And last but not least, in this section on page 1, we have studs. Now again, studs are 92 5/8 for the most part, but that's not all the studs. If you have a knee wall or a small wall, all the studs are still going to be 16 on center or 2 foot on center. They're at the length that you need. When we did our interior partitions in the house here, we had what we call the vaulted ceiling. Remember, the angled up, and we had to cut each one at 5 degrees, either plumb cut or compound miter cut, depending on what it was. So you had to do one or two things, but make sure that they're the things. So the studs are the main vertical framing members of the wall or partitions. So they're the skeleton. They're the strongest. You nail them right from the bottom plate to the top plate. And then you add the double top plate up above. That's simple. That's it on the first page. You can fill these out. Make sure you have them done by Friday when we go around. I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to do the second page on another video. I'm going to download this on your email, and I hope everything works. And please stay healthy, and I will see you when I see you. Hopefully it's soon. I miss you guys, and that's the start of Walls and Ceiling Part 1. Thank you.